A powerful US congressman recently invested a boatload of money in a company crucial to America's most advanced fighter jet program. Now, what if that same congressman is now pushing to increase funding for that very same program? Surely that could never happen. That would smell like, I don't know, corruption, wouldn't it? And that never happens in the United States. Felix here, and today we're looking at news coming from Capitol Hill. Representative McCaul has made a substantial investment, I said that at the top to cover myself, if that's okay, in a company which happens to be, well, a key supplier for the F-35 fighter jet. And it has sparked a heated debate about potential conflicts of interest. We're making no accusations there whatsoever about this upstanding member of Congress. And, well, can we make boatloads of money out of this too? Because this isn't just about one politician's investment. It's a tale that intertwines global conflicts, cutting-edge tech, and the complex relationship between government and the defense industry, who seem to be fairly closely intertwined. And this could really make us some money. So we're going to walk through it and learn what the stock is, whether we should buy it, how to buy it, but also dive deep into that very business. And if you've ever wondered how to spot those stock breakouts before they happen, and this is a big one coming up here, or even how to protect your portfolio during downturns, well, I've got something special for you. I've distilled my years of experience as a trader and as a banker into a 30-minute masterclass that you can watch for free at your leisure, right here, right now. And it'll teach you how to identify those breakout stocks before they break out. And it's available at felixprehn.org/get-free. Now, it won't be there forever. Once you watch the video, you'll understand why. I appreciate most of you won't watch the video because most people take very little action. But maybe you are just the one person that's different. So let's recap and go back to our story here. Who are the key players here? Well, if you watch some of my previous videos covering congressional buying and selling, you'll probably recognize the Honorable Representative McCaul the Great. But for newer viewers, let me give you a quick rundown. He is not just any old congressman. He's a Republican heavyweight with a wonderful heart who's been representing Texas's 10th Congressional District since 2005. He's only done wonderful things since. And, well, he is a fairly active trader. In fact, he's one of the most frequent players amongst his peers, which probably makes his real job a little bit of challenging. I mean, how does he balance all of this, making all that money for himself and doing all that great work? Well, but he's also the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee. And that's why I'm buttering up to him as much as I can during this video. So you don't want to piss off the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, do you now? And that position gives him access to very sensitive information about national security and defense matters. It's sort of a backstage pass to America's defense decisions. So now we know who he is. Who's the company that he's investing in? It's a company called Howmet Aerospace. And you've probably never heard of them. I'd never heard of them. But it's not your average manufacturing company. Howmet is a key player in the aerospace and defense industry. They're the ones making critical components for aircraft engines and fastening systems. Think of them as sort of the unsung hero behind the F-35. And the F-35, if you hadn't noticed, is America's most advanced fighter jet, a marvel of modern engineering. And guess what? Again, Howmet plays a crucial part in that production. And the wonderful McCaul made a significant move very recently. He invested a small fortune in Howmet Aerospace stock by making 2 trades on the same day. And since the beginning of 2024, Howmet stock has actually been on a tear. And I'll show you a stock chart in a moment, and I'll show you how we can trade it and make money out of it. And, well, since McCaul's investment, it's up another 10% plus, easily, trading at about $105 as I'm recording this. Now, of course, we're not pointing fingers here. We'll, maybe McCaul just got lucky with his timing. I'm sure he had no insider information at all there. But only about a handful of members of Congress have placed small bets on this company the past few years. So McCaul seems to have sniffed out an opportunity, a bit like my trusty advisor, Winston. But why has Howmet been performing so incredibly well this last year? Well, let's have a look at their numbers. In the second quarter Howmet knocked it out of the park. We're talking a revenue of 1.88 billion, 14% increase over the year, and 27% of that came from commercial aerospace. It seems that while Howmet's military connection are grabbing headlines, their civilian business is actually doing quite nicely as well. So a powerful congressman with access to sensitive information making a substantial investment in a company that's crucial to America's defense industry. And we all know how badly Israel needs those F-35 components at the moment. Is it a coincidence? Well, of course it is. I mean, how dare I speak otherwise? As I mentioned, the aforementioned congressman is a wonderful man with only the greater public good at, that's what all he thinks about. He would never think about personal profit. No. Far below that great man. But you might also wonder, why is Howmet such a big deal? And why are we talking about this? Well, they're not just about making parts. They really are at the heart of America's most advanced military tech. First, they're in the titanium game. This isn't your everyday metal. It's lightweight. It's incredibly strong. It's perfect for aerospace applications. And guess what? They are a key supplier of titanium for the F-35 fighter jet program. In late 2023, Howmet and Lockheed Martin got into a fairly heated dispute over titanium supply. Picture this. It's November 2023. And Howmet suddenly cuts off titanium supply to Lockheed Martin. Why? They wanted higher prices, citing inflation and global supply issues. Lockheed Martin wasn't having any of it. They sent an F-35 over, took care of the thing. They wanted to do that, but that'd be illegal. So instead, they sued Howmet, asking a judge to force them to keep supplying titanium at the old prices. So this wasn't just your average kind of squabble. Lockheed Martin argued that without Howmet's titanium, there would be unavoidable and substantial delays in F-35 deliveries. We're talking about a potential threat to national security. So our beloved congressman, the wonderful, undoubtedly heard about this. Now add some global context. Russia's invasion of Ukraine had thrown the titanium market into chaos. Western companies were scrambling to find non-Russian suppliers. And thankfully, in March 2024, these two companies reached a settlement. The details are hush. But Lockheed Martin assured everyone that titanium would keep flowing and the F-35 production was back on track. Crisis averted, but it does show how crucial Howmet is to the defense supply chain. But they don't just do titanium. They're also the go-to guys for fastening systems. Now, I know fasteners might sound not that exciting, but in the F-35, they are incredibly critical. These aren't your average nuts and bolts. They are precision-engineered components that keep the aircraft in one piece under extreme conditions. Without them, even the most advanced jet would literally fall apart. And let's not forget about engine components. Howmet also produces various parts for jet engines, including those used in the F-35. And they need to, of course, withstand incredible heat and stress. So the whole thing can't work without Howmet. So Howmet is a linchpin in the entire US defense supply chain. And as tensions are rising globally and the focus shifts towards maybe deterring more potential threats, Howmet's importance only grows. So why now? Why did that chap potentially buy now? Obviously for the greater good of the country. But apart from that, well, there's a heated debate on Capitol Hill about F-35 spending. Billions of dollars at stake here. And the House recently approved an eye-watering $833 billion defense spending proposal for 2025. And the F-35 program is still flying high in this budget with funds for 76 new jets. That's a lot of titanium and fasteners. Now, there are some people in Congress who wanted to curtail that program a little bit, but there are also proponents of it. Why are people against it? Well, they're looking at the price tag and they're saying, is this really worth its weight in gold? Referring to the jet. The government, and they have some good arguments. The Government's Accountability Office dropped a bombshell in April. They reported that the F-35 sustainment cost had skyrocketed by 44% in just 5 years, which accounts for 1.6 trillion over the aircraft's life cycle. Trillion with a T. So the cost explosion has led even the military to reduce their planned usage of the F-35. It's sort of like buying a Ferrari and then realizing you can't afford the fuel, really, isn't it? So you don't really drive it, but you take pictures, of you standing next to it. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, because the F-35 isn't just an American toy. There are 16 other nations who are using it too. And I suspect our lovely congressman, the mighty and wonderful McCaul, knows this. We can't really do this video without mentioning the Israel conflicts. There are various conflicts going on over there right now. And that is having real implications for companies like Howmet and the entire defense industry. See, not obvious that they are really involved right now, because, I mean, he looks at fastening systems when you're talking about war, but the F-35 Lightning is used by the Israeli Air Force. Quite a lot, apparently. Why? Because they kind of need to use all the aircraft they have to have the impact that they want. So they're using it to actually bomb places, which is probably not what it was originally built for. And they need components. In fact, there are lots of activist groups, not your average sign-waving protesters, but an activist from a group called Palestine Action. They took things to a whole new level. They occupied the roof of Howmet's facility in the UK, in Leicester, if you happen to be there, and they used sledgehammers to damage equipment inside that very factory. So sort of making your point with a hammer, really. And in reality, wars are very, very good for Howmet and companies like that, because the more the F-35 is in the air, the more spare parts it needs, the more new fasteners are required, and so on. So Howmet actually finds itself, yes, a little bit in the eye of, the ESG crowd, but financially, they look to be doing very, very well. Because let's put it all together. We've got continued support for the F-35, a focus on deterrence, a support for Israel, and lots of wars going on everywhere, really. So good news for the defense world. And if you are the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, you know this. You're not your average investor. You have a front row seat to information that none of us have even heard of. So I suspect our congressman is rather confident in the continued production, maybe even the expanded production of the F-35, and an increased demand for domestically sourced materials like titanium, and probably sees that defense spending is going to go up and not down. So I'm getting more and more bullish on the whole defense sector, and it's not one I'm massively familiar with naturally. But let's have a look at this particular stock and how we could make money out of this and how we could trade this. So I'm going to type Howmet into tradevision.io here, which is the software that I use. And look at that. I mean, that's a pretty beautiful chart, right? Up 190% since the beginning of 2022. Who needs NVIDIA? NVIDIA has actually done slightly better than that. We called a last buy signal here at $95. We're now at 106, which is pretty sweet. And what does your trend tell you? Well, if I may steal a pen, actually, why don't we go on a more advanced chart? If you tick in the top right here, click on more advanced chart, you get taken to literally a more advanced chart, and you still got our trend indicator there in the background. I'm just going to turn that off. And I've turned on a 50-day moving average line here, that yellow line, and that's very important typically. Above it, good. Below it, caution. And it's been trading mostly above that, but it seems to come back down to it every once in a while. And those are your buy opportunities. Here is one that's actually very much a classic. So you have sort of this pattern here. These are your highs that are highlighted there, like that one and this one and that one. And then what you typically see is a massive uptick in volume. This was sort of your early warning, and then you go really nuts here. And that's usually your breakout. And then after the breakout, you usually get a second chance in case you were late to the party or just asleep to buy the same thing again, and then we actually go up, which is exactly what happened here. So up here at $106 right now, well, earnings must be coming up very soon because the last ones were 30th of July, so we should get that at the end of this month. And what I'll probably do is I'll wait for those earnings to kick in. And after earnings, call options are cheap. Before them, they're very expensive, so don't ever buy options before earnings. And hopefully we're going to get a little bit of a pullback. But if we don't, well, I'll probably wait for the next pullback. And that doesn't have to mean we have to go all the way back down to the yellow line, but at least close to it. A couple of dollars above it, to maybe $2 above it. Just you want that gap to be a little bit smaller. And what I then might actually do is I'd probably just buy some leap options, something that's like a couple of years out. And therefore, if it does go flat or up, we'll make a very, very, very nice trade on this. So I'll watch out for it. I'll let you know if and when I do make that. But I think, yeah, it's a very juicy looking chart, isn't it? I mean, it really has absolutely exploded since here, really, since 2nd of November. And again, that was a classic case of a breakout here. So if you want to learn how to spot those breakouts, watch my masterclass on that at felixprehn.org/get free, because this is textbook stuff, really. So spottable. And you could have gotten in at $48, which would have been quite sweet, right? And now we're trading at, where are we trading at? 106. So that would have been quite a sweet rally if you'd watched that. So there we have it. I hope you got some value out of that. Of course, I've said all along that Congressman McCaul is above the law. I was going to say, slight Freudian slip. No, he's an outstanding fellow who deserves everything and only wants the best for everybody, and would never do something with insider information, I'm sure. He is the chair of the Homeland Security Committee, so I'm a little bit frightened. So on that note, I hope you got some value out of this. And if you did, share it with a friend. And I hope to see you on the next one.